Hey everyone, Al Fragnoli, Zach Sutty. We're joined today by Alan Aldwell. Alan is the Director of Premium Services for the New York Mets. Alan, thanks so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, happy to be here. I appreciate you guys hosting me and certainly look forward to a fun conversation.
Absolutely. We've got a couple questions here we're going to ask you today. The first one we want to start with is you've obviously spent a lot of time working in baseball early on in your career here. You've been with the Blue Jays, the Pirates, now the New York Mets, as we just mentioned. Talk to us a little bit about your journey in the sports world and what ultimately got you into the position that you currently are today.
Sure. Yeah, happy to tell my story a little bit. I think the first thing is a lot of people have what I would call a light bulb moment. And, for me, it was when I was a senior in college at East Carolina University. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was studying business. I love sports like a lot of my friends did growing up. Um, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do after graduation. And so I had a friend at the University of Central Florida, and he gave me a call and he said, "Hey, I'm going to this conference. It's hosted by MIT and ESPN's involved. And all I had to do is really just pitch my SGA, and they've got grants to send students up there. And so here's the blueprint, do the same thing, and we'll go up there together." And so I did it. All of a sudden, I'm in Boston. I'm meeting Mark Cuban and Mike Wilbon and presidents and GMs and all these people. And for me, that was kind of a light bulb moment like, wow, how do I turn this into my career? And if I can do this every day, I'm going to show up excited and ready to do whatever's needed. And so that light bulb moment kind of set things in motion for me. Um, from there, 2 days after I graduated college, I packed everything I had into my Jeep and I drove down to Florida. I started working for the Florida Collegiate Summer League, where I cut my teeth in the business. I got to do a little bit of everything, made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot. I was the guy with a microphone running around the stadium, selling tickets, sponsorships, meals, living in a house with the players. And, I think it really helped me grow up quickly. And it helped me understand I was pretty good at talking to people and I was pretty good at getting people to give me money. So I started in the sales path. That got me an opportunity to go up to the Blue Jays in Florida. So I spent a year there as the ticket sales coordinator, learned a lot again, and really doubled down on sales. From there, I jumped up to Pittsburgh to work for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I spent about 6 months in an inside sales program. I jumped over to a service role. I look at it as more of a hybrid where you're a seller with a book of business. So I did that for a couple of years, and then was fortunate enough to join the leadership team there. So I was the inside sales manager for the Pirates for a couple of years, and then in October of 17, I was fortunate enough to move my career up to New York City, which is where I am today.
Fantastic story. Love that path and the light bulb moment. So, um, you know, with your experiences, what do you enjoy most about working in the sports industry, and what accomplishment over your career up to this point are you most proud of?
Yeah, it's hard not to say the people. I know that's what everybody says when they get, asked that question, um, because the people are what makes it so enjoyable. Um, but I also think over the last couple of years, we've learned a lot. And one of the things that I learned is it's also about the environment. I'm working out of my home in Brooklyn right now, and I actually got to go to Citi Field today. I was at the stadium, and there's something special about that environment, about being at the ballpark. And so, to give a little bit of a different route than some of the answers you've probably heard before, I do think it's the environment and the energy and the atmosphere that makes it special for me. As far as what I'm most proud of, I've lived through some pretty cool things. In Pittsburgh, I was a part of the 20th consecutive losing season. So there was a joke we were about to become legal at 21. And then, we hit lightning in a bottle. And Andrew McCutcheon was the MVP. There was the Johnny Cueto game where he dropped the ball in the wild card, and the next pitch, Russell Martin hits a home run, and the city goes nuts. We were able to build a really solid development program in Pittsburgh. Um, when I came to New York, we created a premium service department. It was brand new, for that team. So I'm proud of what we've created in an auto renewal beast at this point. But I think when I really boil it down, it's two things for me. Number one is I've been very fortunate to learn from great people, but I'm also proud that I bet on myself. You know, I moved my whole life to Florida. I moved my whole life to Pittsburgh. Moved my whole life to New York. I didn't know anybody, and I took those chances. And every time, I've gotten stronger from it. Um, the other side goes back to people. It's the impact that I've been able to make on people, whether it's up, down, across, and the relationships that have been created, due to hard work and passion and buy-in.
Alan, you mentioned a couple of things that really stick out to me there. First of all, the people. Obviously, I think we can all agree that there's something special about the sports industry where we're all so close, and it's a tight knit group of people, and it really is a special group. And I don't think you see this in a lot of other industries, which is something that's truly special. I mean, look at us. We met in 2012, and we still keep in touch, through correspondence every now and then. So I do think it's all about the people. Pittsburgh is a special city. It's a lot of people that love their sports teams, and you were certainly down there during a very good time for Pittsburgh Pirates baseball. But I love a lot of the things that you shared right there. Moving on into our next question here, Alan. What are some key skills that are needed for someone to be successful in the sports world or in sales, just in general?
To me, the biggest thing is really that, you're passionate about it and you believe in it and you're bought in. Um, One thing that I preach all the time is you got to believe in three things. You got to believe in your product, you got to believe in your process, and most importantly, you got to believe in yourself. And it comes out, like, you can tell when somebody's excited about something and they really believe in it. You see it, you feel it, and if not, you're probably not doing the right thing. You're probably in a job, not in a career. So, I think that's a vital skill. Obviously, you got to be outgoing. You got to be a risk taker. You can't be afraid of failure. A lot of those things are pretty obvious, but those are some of the things that come to mind for me.
So, Alan, I love that. Believe in the product, the process, and yourself. I think that's great advice for anyone that's watching, and got to be a risk taker. You took those risks. I think we all took those risks. We were all in Florida at one point, and we took those risks to pack up our things and go. And I think sometimes it pays huge dividends. So, great advice for our listeners. So, obviously, the sports industry is very difficult to break into. There are still challenges that organizations are facing due to the hardships placed on them as a result of this pandemic. With that being said, what is some advice that you think would be beneficial to those looking to get into sports right now?
And right now, I really feel for the candidates trying to get in because, coming out of the pandemic, it's a challenging atmosphere. I do think it's starting to open up, but you got to do something to stand out. And I can give you a couple examples of, how I was able to do that, but I think it's got to be genuine. It's got to be authentic, and people are able to tell when it's not. So, a couple of different ways that I was able to do that where maybe the story will resonate for others. First story was in Florida with the Blue Jays. So I actually had an internship with the Daytona Cubs, but I really wanted to be over on the West Coast side for some personal reasons. And so I started looking at some opportunities in Tampa Bay, and I noticed that the Blue Jays were hiring a ticket sales coordinator. So I did what every kid does, right? I sent an email in, I sent my resume in, and I hoped they'd call. Never called, never emailed, right? Never heard anything. And so I called my dad. My dad's one of the biggest mentors in my life. And I said, Dad, what would you do? And he said, why don't you just drive over there and go knock on the door? And I'm like, no, Dad, nobody does that. Like, it's stupid. Next morning, I put on the one suit I own, jump in my Jeep. I drive over there, right next to the beach. So I go park at the beach for like 2 hours and I read the media guide. And I study the media guide from cover to cover. Go back over to the stadium, roll up to the front door, ring the doorbell. And I say, hey, I'm here to see Jonathan Valdez, who was the ticket sales director. And the admin says, do you have an appointment? And I said, I don't, but I'm here now, so I might as well. Can I see him? And the guy comes down to see me, later ends up telling me that he hates pop-ins, like absolutely despises them. But I pop in and, he says, "Hey, look, I am hiring. Who are you? Tell me your story. What do you know about us?" And I know everything. Here are the packages. Here's what's going on. Here's your capacity. Here are the people involved. Here's why I'm going to make an impact on your organization. Says, "All right, kid, not bad. Come back tomorrow, meet with our GM." So I go to the beach, I have a beer, I come back next day, same suit, same story, hire me on the spot. All of a sudden I'm working for the Blue Jays, and so I think it was genuine. I did my homework. I showed the company why I would make them better. I think that's something a lot of people miss. They want to talk about what the company could do for them, which is important, but it's more about what you can do for the company as to why they're going to invest in you. So, that was one way I was able to fight through it. It wasn't anything crazy. It's kind of old school, but that worked for me. The other story was, so now I'm trying to go from the Blue Jays up to the Pirates, and I was going to do something to stand out. So on your resume where it says skills and hobbies, what I had put on there was I was a phenomenal dancer. And it was kind of a joke, but it was to get somebody to look at it and laugh and ask me about it. And so I'm up there for, it's called a inside sales combine interview. We bring in, anywhere from 15 to 30 people, and you interview all day, you hit the phones. As a game night, so we end up staying for a suite. And so at the end of the night, they said, "All right, kid, you're going to put something on your resume. You better be able to back it up." So the vice president comes in, the director comes in, they move all the furniture, and they say, "All right, it's time to show up. It's on your resume." So I had him drop a beat and I danced a little bit and had some fun, and it was silly. But the reason I did it was I knew when I walked out of there, they'd remember it. They'd say, "This kid's got courage. This kid's got, the zest of life a little bit." And half of the room, they're not going to remember. I'm not going to be a part of that half. So I did something to stand out. I did something to make myself memorable. Sure enough, they bring me on, and I think, again, it's taking risks and it's showing you're willing to put yourself out there. So for me, that was genuine. For me, that worked. I don't think that's the answer for everybody, but those are a couple of things that helped me in my career.
That's awesome. I love those last two stories you shared, Alan. First of all, I vividly remember you dancing in that suite. And at that very moment, I knew you were going to be one of the three people they selected for that role. So that's awesome. And kudos for you for having the courage to put that on your resume and then to back it up. So I love that. And then your story down in Florida, if there's any young people that are listening to this and watching it, I think that is one of the best stories that I've heard anybody share. Your father was spot on with that. And it takes a lot of courage to go there and to step out of your comfort zone and go ask for that meeting right there in person. And you did the right things by doing your homework. So you definitely impressed that gentleman there, and that's why you landed that job. But I love those two stories that you shared right there. Alan, we're going to wrap it up with one last question here tonight. So you've moved into leadership roles rather quickly throughout your career. What are some key characteristics that make up some of the best leaders that you've been surrounded by in your career?
Yeah, it's interesting because each leader I've had has had different characteristics. Like I don't think there has to be a commonality. To me, I think the first thing is you got to do the work. There's got to be experience that backs up your advice. And I think a lot of, younger folks that are breaking into this industry maybe think they study management and become a manager, but it starts with doing the work. It starts with proving yourself, get a couple of stripes on your sleeve before you have the knowledge and the ability to be able to assist others and guide and lead. I think one of the biggest is, just genuine curiosity. You want to understand how the business works. You want to know why a sales campaign is driven a certain way, why a message point is here, why urgency is created there, why we ask this question in this place, just genuinely understanding different processes, not for any reason other than you want to learn more about the business. And as you do, a lot of good things will happen along the way. I also am a big believer that you don't need a title to lead. We did a book club at City Field recently, and it was pretty cool. It was it's called the Captain's Club, and what they studied was some of the greatest sports franchises of all time, and what was the commonality, within those dynasties. And it wasn't ownership, it wasn't management, it wasn't location, it wasn't money, it wasn't the coach. What the commonality was that the biggest leader was a part of the team. And so it was Puyol for Barcelona, it was Bill Russell for the Celtics. And when your equal is the one holding you accountable and they're putting their own blood, sweat, and tears into it, it has a profound impact on others around you. And so, I think if the person sitting to your left or to your right is a leader, then it's really going to elevate the whole team, and it makes your boss's job a heck of a lot easier because I can focus on the vision and I can focus on what's coming down the road, knowing my team holds themselves accountable. So I think that the courage to be respected without having the need to be liked, is a big part of that psychological element. So those are some things that I've seen to be very effective from a leadership side. But I've also been privileged to work for servant leaders who, said, I work for you. I'm going to remove obstacles out of your way. I work with you. Let's get in the trenches together and let's figure this thing out. So I've been in a lot of very good cultural systems, and even my current leader today, it's leader of people, leader of process, leader of culture, leader of strategy, and willing to take the time to help you get better in each of those silos.
Awesome. That was all fantastic information, Alan, that you shared with us. I love that you talked about servant leadership a little bit there. The Captain's Club that you mentioned, I was actually on a Zoom call listening to that gentleman talk about his research a couple months back too. So very familiar with that. And that was a very interesting Zoom call that he had there based on some of his research. So we can't thank you enough, though, Alan, for coming on with us. We know you're an incredibly busy guy. So we appreciate all this information you shared. You had so many great stories about your background in the sports industry and so much valuable information that Zach and I know will certainly help some of our younger listeners looking to break into the sports industry and just get into leadership roles in general. So we thank you so much, Alan, for coming on with us.
Yeah, happy to help. And if there are some young people out there, feel free to find me on LinkedIn and reach out. I've had a lot of great young people help me. So I think it's important to continue to pay it forward, and I appreciate you guys having me. We
certainly appreciate that, Alan. We'll share your LinkedIn information through our social media platforms. So we do appreciate that. And I thank you. I know that I've passed over a couple names to people in the past that you've taken time out of your day to reach out to and help guide them throughout their process and moving into the sports world. So thank you again, Alan. We appreciate you.